This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Alright, good morning guys. In this video, I want to tell you exactly how I've managed to travel continuously for the last 5 years. I originally left on August 24th, 2014, so it's been just over 5 years since I first started traveling. And I've made money in various ways since then, and in this video I want to list all of the ways I've done that and how I'm where I am now. So I don't know exactly how long it's going to be, it's not really scripted, I'm just going to take you through step by step what's happened. Get yourself a cuppa and let's do it. So, in August 2014, I quit my job and sold my stuff and decided I want to start traveling. I'd only been working in a fairly good job for the previous year and a half after leaving university. But I decided it wasn't really for me. I didn't like the whole, it's cliche, but I didn't like the whole 9-to-5 thing. And I wanted to try and go out and do what I really loved, which was travel and try and start a business for myself. I had no real idea how. And although I had £4,000 saved up right then, including all the stuff I'd sold, that disappeared fairly quickly. And in about 8 months, even though we were living completely budget, trying to live off like £10–20 a day, that £4,000 disappeared within 8 months, and then suddenly by March I was in my overdraft. Now what I did have was a backup plan of the working holiday visa in Australia. So I was in Bali in March of 2015 and I was already into my overdraft, like I completely ran out of money, but I knew I had the backup plan of Australia because I decided that beforehand, and so I got a one-way flight from Bali to Perth, I think for about 30 euros at the time, and started cleaning a hostel there for free accommodation while I was looking for a job. So I really had like absolutely nothing left. After just 8 months previous, I decided I wanted to go out and live this dream, but it all kind of fell through because I didn't put the time and discipline into making money for myself online. So I just ended up back in Australia, not really working, cleaning toilets and no money, and kind of a bit deflated because the dream didn't really work out. So I decided I was going to save up money there in Perth for the next 6 months and try and start again, really, try and get back to the point where I was, saving up money and then going back into this idea of traveling and working online, but with a renewed optimism and with the idea that I was going to have discipline and live cheap and not just spend it on going on nights out and all the other things you can easily do. That's exactly what I did. So fast forward to September of 2015. I'd been working in Australia for 6 months. First doing little odd jobs. I was doing flyering. I worked for a lady doing like temp and web design work. And then I ended up being a temp in a big office, which was obviously not where I wanted to be, having left that a year previous, but it was a means to an end to save money, to enable me to now do this sort of thing. So while I was working in an office in Australia, I also started my Instagram and YouTube channel in the middle of 2015. And even though I was still working at the time, I didn't procrastinate. I was trying to build Instagram followers each day and trying to get my YouTube off the ground as well, using the footage that I'd filmed from the year previous. Although I didn't edit it, I still had a big bank of footage that I put into this 1 second a day video. That was my first video that really took off, and fortunately that one did quite well and kind of led me to start this YouTube channel. And this is my last ever day at work. So after I left Australia at the end of 2015, my plan was to go and live and work in Southeast Asia and keep it as cheap as possible. Whereas before, I'd spent maybe, I don't know, 6 days traveling and enjoying myself and maybe 1 day being on the laptop. I tried to flip it this time, and I'd spend 4 or 5 days a week like working for myself, and then 2 days of exploring and filming and creating content to go into the YouTube channel I just started. Now I tried to do some web design gigs at the time because I'd had a bit of a background in it, and that was some of the work I did in Australia. And I picked up, I don't know, that was kind of my backup plan as well as YouTube. So I picked up a couple £100 here and there and I made some money from it. I actually also, there was my boss from Australia, I agreed to do a website for her for $2,500, did the whole website, and then never got paid. So I literally did work for a month, and then unfortunately that didn't work out. So that was kind of a setback at the time, because I was almost banking on that money, but it just never came through, and still to this day I haven't, but I didn't let it stop me. Instead, I just said, well, okay, I'm gonna move on and work even harder on the YouTube and Instagram. Yeah. So for the next 6 months, from September through till March 2016, I just kept it as cheap as possible, but traveled a lot around Southeast Asia, making videos about my journey of trying to work online, but also about the places I was going to. So, I mean, some of you guys might have been following since then. I did a lot in like Bali and Philippines and Thailand, and really just kept it the cheap destinations because I didn't want all the money I'd saved to disappear. And it wasn't really until about March that I started seeing any return from YouTube. And this was, I don't know, at least 8 months since I started the channel. Now here, again, some of you might remember, but I got kind of lucky and I got this opportunity to do something that just sounded amazing, and it was perfect timing for me as well. Because I'd been doing a video every 2 days on my YouTube channel, because I'd been sharing content, I got some attention, and a company in China reached out to me to join their jiu-jitsu camp and go and learn jiu-jitsu with the training, yoga, Chinese lessons, room and board included for 2 months. And it was a bit of a gamble. It wasn't really, I mean, I was gonna say it was a gamble because I was going there and I wouldn't be moving around anymore. I didn't know what it was gonna be like. But that's the thing with these things. I think you just have to trust it and trust that it's gonna work out. And so I went there and I spent the next 2 months living for free in China while I was still trying to work on my YouTube channel. And at this point, my YouTube channel was making max maybe $100 to $200 per month off of Adsense, and that's all I really had coming in. I still had some of my savings from Australia, but they were slowly going down on cost of living and flights and etc. But I only really had that coming in. So this is now almost 2 years since I started, and all I've really got is a few $100 coming in a month, besides the work I'd done in Australia. So yeah, I mean, if you're doing better than that, then guys, come on, keep going, because I was not doing better than that 2 years after I decided that I wanted to start doing this. So while I was there and I had some spare time to do some more learning about how I can make different ways of making money online. And some things I did during that time was I did audio transcription. It's super easy, especially if you have English as a main language, but even if you have a good level of English, you basically just listen to things and then type out what you're listening to. And there's lots of websites that do that, but you can make like 10 bucks an hour. I know now as well, this isn't something I did at the time, but a lot of people do it just for reference, is VIP Kids and like websites like that where you teach English online. If you have a good strong base of English, then that's good, again, $10 to $20 per hour. But anyway, getting sidetracked. While I was there, I also learned about video licensing. I got very lucky with this. I was literally just walking along a market in China, and there was a guy playing with a slinky like this. And I'd never seen it before, so I filmed it just with my little point and shoot camera, not even a DSLR. And then I think I sold that clip originally for 300 bucks, which blew my mind because that was one clip that took 10 minutes to get, and I made more money from that than I've been making from YouTube at all. And that was what really taught me about video licensing, and I still make money from that today, but we'll get into that later. That one clip has continued to make me money for the last 3 years. Right, so after China was when I moved to Jakarta, and again, maybe so, I don't know, let me know like when you guys started following me, if you're still watching this. But yeah, I mean, straight after China, I moved to Jakarta, and I got a really good break there with YouTube because I started making videos about Indonesia, and this was where I got my first real viral video and where I started to gain a bigger following because the content about Indonesia was just getting lots of views and lots of interest. And even though I had my first viral video that I think at the time got like 400,000 views straight away, I was still only making $100 to $200, max $300 a month. And I was getting, which if you have been to Jakarta, then you know that's not really enough to cover rent and etc. Well, it's cheap food, but it's not cheap rent. Anyway, so I was still going deeper into my savings and eventually into my credit card because I still wasn't making enough from the YouTube channel. So if some of you are at this stage and you're making some money from your content but not enough to keep going, this is where I decided to start my own Patreon, because I had a bit of a following already then that people wanted to support my journey, but I didn't have enough to really do the things I wanted to do. So I started a Patreon and people donated or pledged money to enable me to continue going with the YouTube channel. Then again, it's all about opportunities and taking those opportunities, but I got offered completely out of nowhere because I'd been continually doing YouTube and content for the last year and a half, a campaign with Royal Caribbean. And this was like a huge break for me. It was a huge deal because it was more money than I'd ever been paid before. Like, I won't say exactly, and more money than I've ever been paid for a campaign since. And I only had like 15,000 subs, but they liked what I was doing. And yeah, I got to do that. And it was kind of a big break that all of the hard work of myself going into my credit cards and like managing funds and like trying to live off of $100 to $200 a month finally like paid off here. And I will say it was good timing, but it was also an opportunity that I grabbed with two hands and made sure I did the best with it. So after that, I came back and really for the rest of the year, I just continued making videos, creating content, trying to build my Instagram and YouTube, and that was really where my mind was in 2016, because that was really, YouTube was kind of like, a lot of things were taking off then, and I felt like if I continue with YouTube, then that's gonna be enough. I decided to step it up and get a bit more professional, so I built myself a website and got a professional email rather than a Gmail. And because this was the first time I'd worked with a big sponsored company, that just felt more professional to me, and I felt like I needed a website to show off what I do. Which brings me to... Now, some of you will know this, but over the last 2 months, I've been building my own website using Squarespace.com. And I did have a website before, but I'm rebuilding it using Squarespace. And what I will say is that even with a background of web design, I haven't really needed to know how to code or any like fancy web design tricks or methods, because Squarespace has just made it really easy. Like the ability to choose templates and create pages just like that has meant, and the ability to upload media and drag things around and resize just using a visual sort of UI, a visual interface, that's made it really easy for me. I completely recommend it, even without this being a sponsored integration. I find it much easier than the alternatives. Now, if you are planning to do anything online or you want to start working online, then having a website is a great base. It's a place to show a portfolio of your work, a place for people to see a bit more about you, and you can set up your own email at the domain as well, which just looks that little bit more professional. So if you are interested, then go to squarespace.com and use the code TheLifeOfJord for 10% off any purchase of a website or domain. Cheers! So that brings us to January 2017, and up to this point for the last 6 months, I've just been continuing with YouTube, trying to like build that up and trying to build up a social media presence for myself. But here I decided to try and learn other ways of making money from video besides just YouTube and social media. And I decided to revisit video licensing and stock footage. And now bear in mind, like with the top-down view, these things kind of seem like things maybe I should have been doing a couple of years before, but when you're consistently trying to keep up with YouTube and consistently trying to keep putting things out, it's hard to take a step back and really consider the other things you should be doing. And this is a problem that I've noticed with a lot of people, because if you've got this carrot on a stick, you're always kind of chasing that, but to really like take a step back and think about other things you should be doing that maybe will be better for you, sometimes it's hard to get to that point. So I looked back at video licensing and stock footage, and just briefly on what that is, by the way. Let's say you have a clip of the streets of Bangladesh from a bird's eye point of view, which is one I had and one that sells. I would upload that to a website, and at the time it was Shutterstock. So I would upload that, and then if people wanted to license that and use it for their own projects or their own videos, they would pay me a fee. Shutterstock would receive a fee and I would receive a fee. So there's a way of people getting content for cheaper, and it's footage that I've already used that's dead to me, so I can upload it and then they have the opportunity to buy it. So I started doing more of that, uploading more videos to licensing and stock footage sites, and I also started a conversation with TV apps, specifically Roku. Now, since I figured out a deal with Roku, every single one of my videos gets drawn down automatically from YouTube and goes onto their TV player app, which since then, January 2017, 2.5 years ago, I've received a monthly check from them because they're playing adverts next to my videos. And this is something that I know a lot of people don't do, but you can do that on various platforms, including Roku, including Amazon Prime, Samsung TV. It's just about finding the right contact, and then all of your videos that are being viewed on YouTube can also be viewed on there, and it will just give you an extra passive income. So for the rest of 2017, not really much changed because, again, I was just moving around so quickly that I was just keeping up with YouTube. And I never really noticed that much difference in my AdSense. I'd say there was a point actually in 2017, they called it the adpocalypse, where everyone's AdSense basically got halved, or even like a third, to be honest. It just dramatically dropped because YouTube made a big change. But besides that, my AdSense was pretty consistent, other than if I had a viral video, which I've only had a few in these 4 or 5 years, but one of them was of Bangladesh, and then the AdSense would spike. But that's rare and something you can't really bank on, I think. So, coming to the end of 2017, and I sort of stumbled across an opportunity that ended up making a lot of money rather quickly. And I got kind of complacent because of it, if I'm being completely honest. But this was around about the time that crypto and Bitcoin and everything crypto related just took off. I was just having a conversation with one of my friends, and she told me about Steemit and DTube. I had a look at them, got in at the right time around November, and then suddenly in December and January, I was uploading the same video I put on YouTube. I was uploading it to DTube, and it was making a few $100 per one video. So in roughly 2 months, I think I made about $10,000 just by taking the same videos I had on YouTube and uploading them to DTube. And I also started doing like a daily episode on DTube as well, which basically like an overall view of what it is. It's YouTube based on cryptocurrency, that's it. And I will, quick caveat now, it's not really making any money anymore. This was like 2.5 years ago, but it was just right place at the right time. And again, taking the opportunity, and then I made some decent money from that. Main reason I mention that is, well, because that's what happened, but also because there's always new platforms like this, especially nowadays. There's so many platforms popping up, and it's just not about taking a chance on all of them because that would take too much time, but just being open to these opportunities and not saying that YouTube or Instagram is the only thing I do. You know, you have to keep an eye out because there are going to be other opportunities in the future. I also started to invest more time in stock footage, and specifically this is when I found out about a site called Blackbox, which I still use pretty much every day now. If you're interested in anything I've said, by the way, I'm going to put all the links in the description below. But specifically Blackbox, it's a way of uploading stock footage to lots of different sites. So I mentioned earlier that I uploaded to Shutterstock, but now at Blackbox I upload it once and then they distribute to 5 different sites. Really useful, and since I've been uploading consistently there, I think I have about 3,000 clips up there now. It's from all my different videos and all my different travels. It works out as an average of like $200 plus a month, completely passive, because those videos are up there, I've done the work, I've put them up, they're in the search engines of the stock sites. I could continue getting money from that conceivably for as long as those websites exist. I also started looking at other things like affiliate marketing, with websites such as Epidemic Sound has a good one, MusicBed, Amazon, Premiere Pro, and all those links are still in my description. And I made sure that I put all of those links in every single description for all of my YouTube videos, just in case someone's interested. And then when they click through and sign up, even if it's a free trial, then you receive a portion of their sign-up fee or like a one-time bonus for being an affiliate. Right, where are we now? This is a lot of information, I know. I hope this is helping. So 2018, I've got kind of like some notes here. Continued along with YouTube, just kept going, kept putting stuff out and kept receiving regular payouts from Adsense and the video licensing sites. Not just things like Blackbox, but also where I'd had a particularly viral piece of content, like the Slinky guy I mentioned earlier, Storyful, which licensed that 2 years beforehand now, or even 3 years, they're still paying me. So they're still, even though this is like 2.5 years ago, sometimes I've received completely randomly 500 euros because they'd sold it to a big news website or something like that. Now, I mean, this isn't, some people disagree on this because they say you're giving away the rights to another company that's going to sell it on your behalf, and obviously they're taking a fee. But from my perspective, I'm not actively trying to sell these all the time. I'm trying to concentrate on my own things. So if another company can take a fee and sell it and I get a portion of that, that's better for me. Like, something is better than nothing because I'm not going to spend all my time doing that. Middle of 2018, I decided to try and share the sort of lessons that I'd gained over the past three previous years with people that have followed my YouTube channel, and I did this thing called the Travel Continuously Workshop in the Philippines. We took 10 people, me and my friend Rich, to Coron in the Philippines and tried to just, as well as myself, Anton, who is a big blogger, and Jord Hammond from Instagram, we tried to just share all of the lessons we've learned of how you can do what we're doing. And that didn't make any money whatsoever. I mean, I'm including this because it's the kind of thing I want to do. But even though we did that, we took 10 people and, you know, they paid to come. I think we took away like 100 quid each or something. But it was worth it because it was really great to share those lessons. And that's the same reason I'm doing this video now and the same reason I want to do more of this stuff in the future. I think in the future, I will break it down a bit more than this because this is a lot of information, but I really want to do this. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoy it. If you like this sort of format or you want to hear more about any of these specific things in particular, then yeah, let me know because I enjoy sharing this stuff, so let me know if you enjoy hearing it. But I will also say something interesting happened at the end of that year, which was I stopped doing YouTube for quite a few months. After the Japan trip, and I've still, by the way, I filmed a bunch of things when I went on a trip through Eastern Europe with my mum that I've still never put out because I was just overwhelmed with the amount of editing and work everything was taking, so I just completely stopped. I think I got to a point of burnout after having worked pretty solidly for the last 3 years. And I think that's natural. I kind of fell out of love with it for a bit. Still, fortunately, had the passive income coming in because I'd already put the work in for a few years before. Sorry, a few months, a few years before. So I still, for those few months, I had the passive income of the YouTube, the stock footage, the licensing, the affiliate links, still coming in from my previous videos, but I didn't really upload that much until around Christmas time of that year, until the end of 2017, when I started making plans for the China Marathon, and when I was living in Bali at the beginning of this year, was when I really started up again. But if you like, I don't know how many people noticed, but at the time, like, I wasn't really into it. I didn't really want to make videos, and that, like, I don't think that's not a reflection of what I really want to do. It's just that's how I felt at the time. That almost brings us up to date, because now we're in 2019. The only thing, because I've kind of shared main ways I've been making money from the last few years, but the only thing I will really say about this year in particular is the North Korea series. I did see a big spike in ad revenue. And this was for two reasons really. One, because the videos got a lot of views. I think each of them was over 500K to 2.5 mil, which is a lot of views on YouTube, more than I've had on most of my videos over the last few years, but also because the views were coming mostly from the US, which has a higher CPM, which is cost per mil, like how much money I get per 1,000 views. So whereas before, I think I was always getting around like $1 to $2 from most people that viewed. Here I got up to $7 for North Korea video, which was insane. And I'll show you here. I'm not bragging. I'm just not shy about it. This is what happened for the few months afterwards. Still now, they're my best performing videos in terms of revenue. And yeah, my AdSense has jumped up just because of those North Korea videos. And I'm not saying like just go to North Korea. That's not really what I want out of this. I'm just making you guys aware that different places and different content and different videos will have different audiences, which will give you a different CPM and different amount of AdSense. It all just depends on what the content's about. To summarize, I guess, over the last 4 years really, because I'd say the first year I don't really make any money. Over the last 4 years, the main ways I've been making money from videos is from AdSense, Blackbox, video licensing, Roku, other video sites such as YouTube and Roku. One of them is Hideout that I've started using recently. I'm looking at more like that. I'm always trying to find them. But that's what it's been so far. Sponsored campaigns, which you guys would have seen, I've done quite a few over this year. It's something I'm planning to do less of, especially next year. I really want to get, this is probably for another video, but yeah, that's kind of the plan for next year, and from now on I want to do less sort of sponsor trips and more trips that I've planned and doing myself, and going with a mate and doing these like epic adventure type things and showing you how I do that rather than sponsored campaigns. But I will say the places I've got to go to this year would have been very difficult without doing it with a sponsored partner. For example, the Kazakhstan trip was with the tourism board, and we got to go to a place that I would have no way of getting to. So the ones I've said yes to have really been the places that I think would be difficult to do on my own. But that's not my plan for the next content coming up. But you'll see that anyway. That's about it. I have no idea how long this video turned out, but if you're still here, then thanks for watching, and let me know if you want to see more of this, or let me know what you want to hear more about in particular. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, depending on your reaction will depend if I do more of this type of content. So please let me know, and I hope it helped. But for now, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.